I would like to preface this video with a small statement. This piece is not sponsored. I have bought the game myself, but I did contact Bellwright's community manager to conduct an interview. If you're here only for the interview part, skip to the timestamp shown on the screen now, or use the chapters function. Also, this video won't be visuals heavy, so if you're looking for a background noise, feel free to put me on as one. Although for understanding this game, you as a viewer do not have to know the history of Donkey Crew. It would be obviously beneficial to know the whole picture. Their story began in 2010 with their debut, which was a warmly received mod for Mount & Blade called CRPG, which was released both on ModDB and Steam Workshop. 9.6 out of 10 with 270 votes and 5 out of 5 with 1800 votes respectively. The mod at the time of writing this script is subscribed by over 30k people on Steam. Thanks to this moderate success, the dev team decided that they will try themselves in the big league game dev industry. Donkey Crew has joined their forces with Greenman Gaming Publishing and started the development of a game titled Of Kings and Men. Despite my assumption that they had some kind of financing from the publisher, Donkey Crew created a crowdfunding campaign. The goal was to raise $130k, but they managed to only get 46,925. Despite this setback, Chads, who was leading Donkey Crew at that time, assured everyone that the development will continue. In early 2016, Of Kings and Men started their closed alpha and beta tests. On August 25, 2016, the game was released to a wider public. The release was, to put it nicely, chaotic. The core design has been defenestrated as people disregarded the tactics and focused on wild duels in overcrowded castles and fields. The gameplay itself on release wouldn't be such a problem, as even the best games can be ruined by the community leaning towards their own playstyle. But the issues amassed when people started to fall down to their deaths through the map. The game peaked just above 1.5k concurrent players, but the player base quickly dwindled down as promised content updates have been delayed time and time again. On February 1st, 2017, players were greeted with a Steam post that a big part of the dev team is departing their ranks alongside the lead designer, Florian Hofreiter. Right after initial posting, the Steam game page has been flooded with negative reviews, accusing Donkey Crew of scamming people. In spite of this flop, the company prevailed and went on to create a new product after acquiring a Chinese investor. Shortly after that, the studio moved to Wrocław, Poland, where they reside to this day. In June 2019, they revealed their new project titled Lost Oasis, which we were able to play in March of 2020. The game amassed a pretty respectable population with a peak of 33,000 concurrent players. Commercial success may have been partially caused by the work-from-home environment, as the game release was amidst the pandemic. A lot of people seemed to enjoy the game, and despite the not-so-favorable reviews on Steam, the game gravitated around 2,000 to 6,000 players daily. The devs also seemed to be constantly working on a title, as they delivered regular patches. Unfortunately, with the player attention going down, radio silence from the dev team came with it. Many people have concluded that the game has died or at least went into maintenance mode. This is not true, which you will see for yourself in the later part of this video. I have been assured by the Donkey Crew's community manager that the game is still being worked on. Not much is known what was going on between 2020 and 2024 besides Donkey Crew working on a new game. A game that is the topic of this video. Bellwright. I was luckily able to get hold of the community manager of Bellwright, Mr. Misper, through our mutual colleague. Misper was nice enough to answer all my questions, and just as a side note, in my opinion, community manager might be what Donkey Crew just needed. Considering their past radio silence during the life cycle of Lost Oasis, Misper is most likely the right man in the right place. I am aware that those questions are not exhausting the topic enough, so if you would like to ask them something yourselves, join Bellwright's Discord, which I will link in the description below. And now, to the interview. Lost Oasis was an ambitious project that many other developers would have a problem sustaining. You already explained yourself in the interview with PC Gamer, so I won't bug you about it too much. Is Bellwright a spiritual successor to the Lost Oasis?
No, I think I would say Bellwright is entirely different from the previous title and built from the ground up to be more of a narratively driven game. But on the topic of Last Oasis, I'd like to mention that we are still working on that game as well, and we have been working on a new iteration called Season 6 for that game.
Experience can be called the sum of our past mistakes, so to build up on a previous question, the controversies aside, was Lost Oasis a valuable lesson and did your team learn on the past mistakes?
I think the team learned a lot from making an MMO, and specifically how much more complex of a game it is compared to a single-player experience.
Is Bellwright going to follow a different path than Lost Oasis, now that you have a proper community manager to conduct the communication regarding listening to the community? From what I have researched, there were some changes made to Lost Oasis that weren't demanded at all.
Well, seeing as I'm the community manager, I hope I'll be able to provide the players with proper communication. I try to always respond to everyone, and you'll often see me active across our Steam discussions forum, Discord, Reddit, and Twitter.
Bellwright is gathering pretty decent reviews on Steam, sitting at mostly positive at the moment of writing this script. Did you have any problems with review bombing at the beginning? While doing research, I stumbled on a Reddit post accusing you of deleting some reviews. This obviously is false, as developers can't manually delete the reviews on Steam. Were there any bot review attacks on your product?
No, we haven't deleted any reviews on Steam as you're not able to. We did receive a lot of negative reviews when we first launched due to issues with crashing and optimization, which we've now largely improved.
Do you plan to introduce Steam Deck support? Many modern games like Cyberpunk have special graphical presets for this handheld console.
We've actually already seen some people running it on their Steam Deck using specific settings. I believe with more optimization improvements and controller support, it should become more accessible. However, we're not working on anything to make it specifically compatible.
Do you consider mods support?
Yes, we would like to support mods, which will probably be a feature we release at a later date.
To address the elephant in the room, how can players be sure you won't abandon Bellwright like you did to Last Oasis? Although from what I read, there are plans on renewing the development on Last Oasis once Bell will amass enough revenue.
Like I already mentioned, there's already work being done on Last Oasis and it hasn't been abandoned.
Is Bellwright only PC title, or there are plans to port it to current-gen consoles for enjoyment of broader audience?
Right now, PC is our priority since we're still largely in development. I think a console release might eventually come, but at the moment I don't know.
Since I don't really know when the dev cycle began, was Bellwright somewhat inspired by games that had a relative success with the same setting, for example Manor Lords or Medieval Dynasty?
I think Bellwright was inspired by games like RimWorld, Valheim, and especially Mountain Blade. There's a lot of little influences everywhere, so I wouldn't limit it just to the same setting.
As the final word for the viewers, how would you recommend this game to them?
The #1 positive comment we get from players is usually something like, "I have 300 hours in this game so far and I'm still loving it," because it really lets you just take your time, enjoy the setting, and play the game at your own pace. They really like the simulation aspects of it, and overall I think I would recommend it to anyone that likes a medieval setting where you get a lot of customization and management options.
The game came out into early access 5 months ago. The initial release was lackluster, to say the least. The game was haunted with unstable frame rate, game-breaking bugs, and frequent crashes. But now, almost half a year after opening the gates to this medieval universe, I haven't encountered either of those. The game runs smoothly with occasional frame dips on my Ryzen 5800X and RTX 4080, with FPS ranging from high 60s to around 140+. I have been able to achieve this on ultra settings and rocking a 2K resolution. In over 10 hours of my 2 sessions so far, the game did not crash even once and I haven't encountered any bugs, let alone game breaking. So, what is Bellwright exactly? To believe Steam tags, it is an action RPG strategy with simulation elements. But in my humble opinion, there is much more to that. Bellwright is drawing ideas for mechanics and gameplay loop from other games that are widely considered good. Inspiration from games such as Medieval Dynasty, Banished, Valheim, RimWorld, and as Misper said, mostly Mountain Blade are easily spotted. All those inspirations add up to something that maybe is not extremely unique, but somehow fits together seamlessly. You have elements of RPG with developing your character, you have elements of settlement building, like in RimWorld, Valheim or Medieval Dynasty, and you have directional combat straight from Mountain Blade. Making all those elements working together is not a small feat. But making it work is different from making it fun. Is Bellwright fun then? Definitely yes. If I wasn't constrained by time, I would absolutely commit more hours into the game, but life stuff. You start the game with a pretty quick lore dump that justifies mechanics that you will be exploring later in the story. First couple of hours are mainly hand-holding. The game teaches you all the mechanics that you will need to utilize to prosper both as individual and as a new community. After a couple of first quests, you are on your own and the real sandbox begins. From now on, the gameplay loop consists of gathering resources, researching new technologies, building up your settlement, recruiting new citizens, clearing bandit camps, and liberating other settlements. I would categorize this game with my own favorite genre, tea sipper. What I mean by that, there are certain games that are just amazing to sit back, chill, and sip on your favorite tea. Bellwright is one among them. In my humble opinion, although flawed as it is still in the development phase, this piece from Donkey Crew is something that many players can easily sink hundreds of hours in. The game is just appealing and scratches some weird spot inside my head, which makes me want to play more and more. If the developers will continue to update the game with both fixes and content, Bellwright has a potential for creating a vast and thriving community. I would even reach so far as to say that as soon as it comes out of early access, it can become a game of the year. Of course not officially, as it is a product of an indie developer studio. That of course is not a punchline aimed at Donkey Crew or any other small company. But we all know how the gaming landscape is functioning. We have to keep in mind that the game is still in early access and is being developed, so there are instances of AI bugging out, which creates a lot of opportunities to cheese the bandits. For instance, during my first raid of my settlement, I just stood atop of stockpile and AI didn't know what to do. Buffing for AI seems to be an issue at the moment, as there were times when wolves which were chasing me got stuck on a geometry such as rocks. I know that I have said previously that I didn't run into any bugs, and I have to admit I was too eager to say it, but now after playing the game a bit longer I can say that the game in its current state is creating some silly situations. But I still stand by my initial statement that as of now I did not encounter any game-breaking bugs. So considering that the game is still being developed, I am pretty optimistic. To reiterate the title of this video, is Bellwright a redemption arc for Donkey Crew? As of now, I would say so. Despite their failures in the past, it looks like they have learned a lot from their mistakes. They have fixed their frequent problem of being radio silent by hiring a proper community manager, who, by the way, was very helpful during writing this script and has cleared a lot of unknowns. They also promised that they will continue developing Last Oasis, which by many players was presumed to be dead. I think that we all should give them a benefit of the doubt, sit back and watch how their story unfolds. I personally am pretty optimistic about their fate in the future, considering what they're doing with the Bellwright. To sum up the game for those who are wondering if it's worth playing, if you're into medieval settlement management games with RPG elements and decent combat, 100%. I think that an investment of $29.99 is well justified, especially when you can easily pour hundreds of hours into the game, just like many other Steam users did. If 30 bucks is too much for you, you can always wait for Steam sales, but to be completely honest, the content to price ratio is insane and I don't think you should hesitate any longer. After recording the majority of the voiceovers, I have been contacted by Misper, who provided me with some additional info on both Last Oasis and Bellwright. According to the community manager of Kings and Men has been shut down due to the deal that Donkey Crew has signed with a scammy publisher who took over the rights to the title and basically forced the team to stop the development. Regarding the initial issues of Bellwright, such as some players not being able to run the game completely, Donkey Crew presumes that it was strictly connected to the recent Intel drama and Unreal Engine 5 pushing CPUs to their absolute limits. Misper states that they might have been one of the first to address the CPU problems. As always, making a content for you is a pure pleasure. If you liked the video, consider leaving a sub and thumbs up or down, as it helps me produce better content for you. See you in the next one.